Welcome back to Niaga AWANI. Many research, especially from the Khazanah Research Institute KRI, has consistently found Malaysia's housing market to be seriously unaffordable, with the median house price to median household income ratio often exceeding 3.0. They advocate for a shift from the sell then build scheme to a build and sell model, which would require developers to complete housing projects before selling them, thereby reducing risk for home buyers. Recent data highlights a significant disparity between the growth rates of house prices and household incomes in Malaysia. And from 2019 to 2022, house prices increased by 11.9%, while household incomes grew by 21.7%. Despite this improvement, the overall affordability remains a challenge, as the median house price to median household income ratio is still above the affordable threshold. And this ongoing disparity underscores the financial strain on Malaysian households, making it difficult for many to afford home ownership. And additionally, the household debt to GDP ratio has risen over the years, with housing credit constituting the largest proportion of total household loans. And this trend underscores the financial burden of home ownership on Malaysian household. And with me on the line right now, Mr. Sulaiman Akhmady Mohd Saheh, Director Research at Rahim and Co Internationals and Sdn Bhd, to discuss further on this. First of all, what are the underlying economic and also maybe socio-political factors driving the escalation of housing prices in Malaysia, and how disproportionately are these dynamics affecting different income growths, particularly the middle and lower income segments? Sulaiman.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having us. On house prices, as we can appreciate, house prices have actually been growing consistently. There are fluctuations in it, but generally it has actually been one of the better asset classes in terms of wealth preservation. With that, what we actually have right now is house prices have actually grown to a point where affordability becomes a concern. What we see how the market performs in terms of property prices, the prices of house growth has actually outpaced the growth of income levels, and that's where we see prices being a function of supply and demand. It's a two-prong. If you like, from the supply curve, there's some elements as well as demand curve, and supply is actually where the bureaucracy or the red tapes in coming up with new products, or the efficiency of the market in coming up with the numbers of houses at the appropriate prices actually comes into play. Another side is actually demand. Demand actually due to the growth of the economy is one, as well as the growth of the population in numbers, because we're still a growing population, and urbanization, where people come to the cities for employment opportunities, creates a lot more demand for housing. And because of the increase in demand and supply, also there's also the economic side of things, where cost is actually a factor, which developers, I guess property developers is essentially a business entity. They're actually doing this for a profit, which makes it to actually balance between the needs of the market at an affordable level, but also balancing the needs of the market as well in terms of shareholders to make sure that things are viable and profitable as well. So balancing the two is a very tricky element. On top of that, all these factors of supply and demand, there's also the political or policies that actually splurge the market with a better sentiment in the past. For example, when the ease of credit was base lending rates or base rates were actually quite low, mortgage costs declined, which actually spur a lot of interest and buyers in the market. Then in addition to that as well, there's changing demographics. We see today I think a lot of the community members are actually very savvy, very interested in property investment, very interested in wealth creation, and property has actually been seen as one of the popular asset classes. And this is when there's a lot of in the past there were investment clubs where people come in and make purchases and whatnot. Those are the factors that actually pushed up the prices of properties, which actually creates where we are right now.
Yeah.
You see here actually on the, I'm just looking at the chart that I just want to share here. With that house prices, there's a concern on affordability. Over here, we have to appreciate that the problem with affordability is not just about prices. It's actually, there's two sides of the coin. One is the price, the house prices itself, and another is the income level of buyers. So if we look at the house prices right now, if we actually have a better income level, which is basically due to the lagging growth rate of income levels relative to house prices, that's where the affordability concern becomes more apparent.
Yeah. Sulaiman, in what ways have government interventions in the housing sector evolved over the past decade, and maybe how effective are current policies in mitigating the growing housing affordability crisis? Are there gaps that need urgent addressing?
I think the Malaysian government have consistently put focus in helping mitigating the risk and problems of housing affordability. The efforts that they actually put in, like through the national housing policy, which actually has an overarching national housing policy, and then sub-policies includes the national affordable housing policy, specifically looking at affordable houses. These are actually some of the policies that are actually in place in terms of making sure that the number of units are being prepared in a timely manner by different government agencies, as well as how the private sector developers can actually play a role as well. On top of the policies, there's also the financial assistance, the financial assistance that we actually see through the some exemptions of stamp duty exemptions for first-time home buyers to actually help them reduce the barrier of entry or the initial cost outlay for a person to actually make the first property purchase that they actually purchase. So with the financial assistance as well as some grants, I think some of the programs that we actually have in the past, things are like Scheme Rumah Pertamaku or My First Home Scheme. And now looking at some of the newer ones, the Deposit Madani scheme is actually one good example where the government is actually have been trying to give all financial support to first-time home buyers, especially within a certain price threshold, because they are for the first-time home buyers benefits, to actually help people making their first home purchase.
Yeah, Sulaiman, how do external forces such as global economic shifts, currency fluctuations, and also maybe foreign direct investment shape Malaysia's housing market? And what impact do they have on local affordability, and maybe can regulations balance these influences?
Okay, with economic progress, there's always the opportunities that's been created, as well as some downsides or risk that needs to be mitigated. With economic growth, as well as the global economy, as things go improve further, there is the inflationary pressure coming into play as well. And on top of that, in terms of building materials cost, where where prices of materials is not just for the local market. There's also the international market play that actually influences construction cost material as well as labor costs, labor supply. These are the things that we actually play around here. So in terms of how the economy would actually improve the property market, how it improves is that there's better demand because of higher income levels, higher employment numbers, higher urbanization rate, improvements in all the infrastructure system and whatnot, which creates the kind of demand that is actually good for the market. But at the same time, with higher growth and faster growth, the thing that we have to actually be wary of is the decoupling, the decoupling of benefits to the different target segments. As you actually highlighted earlier, how does it impact the normal or basically the middle income earners as well as the T20s or M40s is actually different to the one that is actually to the B40, for example. Even within the M40, it's such a wide range of income where the bottom half of the M40 has still a lot of challenges. The top half of M40 still is actually, they actually have to put a lot of effort as well. But the M40 in general, as well as the B40, the emphasis would actually require a lot of stakeholders pulling in together to actually come in and actually come up with a comprehensive solution. What we see is that some of the efforts that the government has actually put in through the various agencies, we need to actually have these efforts and these agencies streamline in their efforts, and arrangement of resources is actually very important. On top of that, the policies that we actually have in place, the rules and regulations that we have actually in place are pretty much there, I would actually say. The challenge is actually on the enforcement, monitoring, and coordination. As we all know as well, land is a state matter in Malaysia. So in terms of all these housing policies, regulations in terms of land development and whatnot, it essentially has to go through the different states at the local authority levels for approval, and making it seamless for the supply curve or the supply chain in terms of developers coming in, be it some of the national agencies. Some of the national agencies still have to go through and comply the state requirements in terms of when they actually do development. So that's where we actually see to make it easy for the supply to come up with the number of units, as well as making it easy, hence hopefully to become more affordable, more cheaper to for the people that actually purchase. Hence, the efficiency of this whole housing system would actually be improved.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Sulaiman Akhmady Mohd Saheh, Director Research at Rahim International Berhad, and all of these will be available on all our digital platform and all our social media platform.